Hello, everyone. You are listening to Your Palm Beach Guide with the Palm Beach Chamber of Commerce. My name is Kiana Rivera, and I'm the Vice President of Program Development and Membership at the Chamber. I'm excited to be back with you guys. It's been a couple weeks since I've been in the podcast studio, and today our special guest is Jessica Shapiro. She serves on our board of directors at the Chamber, and y'all know the drill. We will go through a quick bio, and then we will jump into our conversation. So real quick, Jessica Shapiro serves as Vice President and Brokerage Manager of Sotheby's International Realty's operations in Palm Beach County, overseeing the Palm Beach, Wellington, West Palm Beach, and Singer Island offices. She joined Sotheby's International Realty after a successful career as a real estate attorney representing high net worth individuals, developers, and investors on residential and commercial transactions throughout Florida. Jessica began her career as an attorney for the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development and developed her legal practice at prominent national and local law firms, including Struck, White and Case, Gunster, and most recently, Alley Moss, Rogers, and Lindsay, PA, located in Palm Beach. She has handled multi-million dollar projects, including the development, financing, acquisition, and sale of planned communities, luxury condominiums, office buildings, marinas, and large residential estates. And of course, she earned her BA in architecture at Yale University and received her JD with honors from the University of Florida Levin College of Law. Holy cow.
That was a mouthful.
It was. Oh my gosh. Well, Jessica, thank you for being here today. We're so excited to have you.
And thank you for having me.
So I just want to jump in really quick right away. Tell me about your studies at Yale. Like, that's a big deal.
So I always compare Yale to a bit Harry Potter-esque experience. You have your residential colleges, which people think of with Quidditch. Is that right? I'm not a Harry Potter fan, but
but you're right.
Yeah.
Yes,
you play intramurals against each other, but it's a special place. Really. People that are so skilled in some area. Like I always tell people, your first week of school, it's like asking your new classmates, like, so what's your thing?
Oh yeah, so everybody kind of has their niche, right?
Yeah, whether it's, they went to Africa and were doing some nonprofit work for, a year of high school, or Olympian figure skater.
Oh my goodness.
Everybody always had this thing, and it was a really special community because everybody's very driven, focused on whatever they do, they want to do it really well.
Right.
But also quirky. They're like the quirky kids from high school. So
yes. Did you always have your mind set on Yale when you were growing up?
Growing up in North Florida, I definitely wanted to get out of Florida for some crazy reason. I learned my lesson quickly. But I wanted to go out of state, and I'm originally from the Northeast, so I knew what it was like up in Long Island, Connecticut, New York, where all my family is.
Okay.
So, Yale was one of my top choices.
Wow.
I played golf in high school, so I got recruited.
Oh, great. So you played in college.
I played golf in college.
Holy
that was
cow,
my
that's
special
a big
thing.
deal.
So
that's a top tier athlete right there.
It was tough. I don't know how I did it looking back, because we don't have scholarships, so you don't get paid to play.
Oh my goodness.
You just really have to love the sport and also balance that with whatever you're studying.
Right.
So, to get through Yale, I actually think high school was even harder, to be
Really?
honest. I went to a college prep school in Jacksonville, but if to get through those 4 years and still have a passion for whatever you studied. Gosh, I don't know how I did it, but yeah.
Well, and what did you study? What were you focusing on?
Sure. I was an architecture major.
Yeah.
History, theory, and criticism track. So at some point I had to decide whether to become an architect and take studio classes.
Right.
But I really loved art history and art. So I kind of was an art history of architecture major.
Wow.
So loved learning about buildings and their history. I thought I might go into historic preservation or urban planning.
Yeah.
So that's why I went to law school.
Right, yeah. So what's that transition like? When you finally made that decision at Yale, you're like, okay, I'm not going to do this. This is the path I'm going to take. And that brought you into law for
It did. I think the start of my senior year, I realized, I don't think I want to be an architect. But a lot of that was kind of that imposter syndrome where you're surrounded by all these talented people.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of talented people at Yale.
Right.
And I didn't have an arts background. So I didn't take any drawing classes or, model making until Yale. Okay. So, I found my passion there.
Right.
But, I didn't know if I could make it, and I was a little scared. Maybe I have a few regrets, but I still love learning about the history of buildings and just tying it into, the art world even, because there's a lot of interconnections there.
Yeah. And then you came home. So you came home and you decided, okay, now I'm going to be a Gator.
I'm going to be a Gator. Okay. Finally, I realized I had some sense knocked into me. Those New Haven winters. So.
Yes. And then walk me through that process of when you were going to law school. Were you also still playing golf at that time?
I tore my ACL the first semester of law school. Or maybe it was February of my second semester of law school.
That's such a rough surgery.
So, that was tough. But it was a wake-up call because not being able to play golf, I realized I really do miss it.
Right.
And I still play today. So, in law school, gosh, I didn't know what I wanted to be necessarily when I grow up. Right. I still think that way. Like, what do I want to be when I grow up? But
that's a good mindset to have, though, because we should always, I'm a big advocate for just always learning, that attitude of always learning. Even now, it's like you go to school and, sometimes it seems by luck you landed in this position.
Absolutely.
And it's like, okay, I guess this is what I'm doing now. What am I going to do next?
It's totally a combination of your own drive, ambition, and just being at the right place at the right time. So, in law school, I still took classes that I found interesting that were still law, but also I took art law, trademark, different intellectual property courses, but I love property law.
Yeah.
So I fell into being a real estate attorney with the government, actually.
What does that look like?
It's how real estate really gets done, which is the finance side.
Oh my goodness.
Money.
Okay. Yeah.
So when I work for HUD insures loans.
And where is that?
The U.S. Department of HUD. So I was based in D.C. right out of law school. Great. So worked for the federal government in 2009 through, I think, 2012 or 2013.
I mean, that's a solid chunk of time, though, that you're in D.C.
It was super exciting time to be there. Yeah. It's an apolitical position. I was a general counsel for the U.S. Department of Housing Urban Development.
Wow.
So there's so much that gets done in-house, whether it's ethics law, which I was an ethics attorney for a good 6 months. Wow. I became a closing attorney, closing loans.
Okay.
So for loans for nursing homes, apartment complexes, assisted living. So I didn't know anything about this before I got to HUD. I thought I was going to do community development block grants or make the world a better place. Right. But I became a real estate finance attorney at HUD.
Oh my goodness.
So lots of paperwork, making sure deals are properly documented.
Right.
And 3.5 years or so in DC, I was ready to come back to Florida.
So you were,
again.
okay.
I knew Florida was the place I was supposed to be.
And then did you come back home or did you go to Palm Beach?
So I actually moved directly to Miami.
Oh, wow.
Because my now husband, but then boyfriend, was here in Palm Beach County.
Okay.
That's how I ended up here.
Okay, great.
But, I thought I had to be in a big city, so I made us move to Miami.
Yeah.
And in Miami, I just went from 0 to 60 in a split second.
Fast.
From government to working for a Wall Street law firm.
Wow.
So at Strzok, I was also a real estate finance attorney. Through a Yale connection, I became a White & Case aircraft finance attorney because I was told that, aircraft are it's flying property. So I get it.
Oh, yeah. That makes sense.
But Miami wasn't for me. I've always loved Palm Beach since I've been coming here, since probably 2007.
Holy cow.
Through my husband's family's here. So, I worked at the AM100 law firm, but I ended up at Gunster.
Yes, okay.
And I was there for a good 7.5 years.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you're in Palm Beach County, you go to Gunster, and what's the first thing that you're like, okay, this is where I'm supposed to be? Because you had that whole chunk of time there.
For sure. It's the people.
Okay.
And the culture there, and also it's a Florida-based law firm.
Right.
It was really awesome to be involved in just the development of some of our local now landmarks.
Right.
Whether it's like the ballpark of the Palm Beaches,
That's huge.
or working on the boat show. But it's really, I found it very rewarding to work in the local community.
Right.
So,
and too, because you work, you live, and work, live, and play here, and it's true because I'm sure that when you were visiting, just to see the change that has happened in West Palm, and I mean, of course, in Gardens and everywhere here, but we go from this small, cute little town sometimes, and now it's like, there's so much happening, and it's weird to see that. I mean, for me, it's like, so I grew up here, and it's just weird sometimes to see how different it is.
Yeah.
But it's exciting. I'm not saying I hate change because I think change is great.
Absolutely.
But it is
you
different.
miss the good old days,
yes.
but it is exciting to play a role in the growth of your local town. So whether it's working for home builders, building some of these communities up in Gardens, Jupiter, Martin County. I mean, this place
Nobody went to Martin County.
No, oh gosh, Martin County's looking attractive with all the traffic.
Exactly.
But, these are problems that happen when successfully growing a place where people want to come.
Oh my goodness.
So I feel like I got here first.
Yes. No, that's so good.
10 years ago.
No, honestly though, but you were here and you've seen it and you've experienced it, which just adds on to your experience now at Sotheby's. So tell me, after Gunster, you transitioned to Sotheby's. Was it something that happened on purpose, or like you said, you were just at the right place at the right time?
Sure. Well, actually, I did a little stint. I was at Allie Moss in Palm Beach for 2 years. So in my Gunster career, as I grew my own book, I found I was doing a lot of these really large residential sales. Really fun to work on. Selling a home worth over $50 million, $100 million in Palm Beach. I mean,
and that's regular. You're like
normal day at the office.
Normal day. You're like, this is just my life.
Yes. How did this happen? I mean, going from HUD to that. I mean, crazy to look back on. But I ended up at Allie Moss, and I really focused on my residential practice there. And I think it must have been my first week or so at Allie Moss. I met the former broker of Sotheby's who was retiring. So, I must have done an office presentation on a few topics, and, it was kind of being in the right place at the right time. And I always thought, what would it be like not to be a lawyer?
Right.
Because it's all I did right out of college, went to law school and went straight into law. So it was appealing to me.
Yeah.
But
you're like something different to really grow yourself as a professional.
Sure.
But also then you get to now bring it into your career with what you already have experience in too.
For sure. It was a good fit. It's been a great experience.
Yeah.
I'm in management now, so that's totally different. Having my own employees, managing our independent contractors, the marketing. I wear a lot of hats.
Yeah. And your territory is everywhere. Palm Beach, Wellington, West Palm, and Singer Island.
We definitely focus on the central east to west of the county.
Wow.
And it's been really fun. I mean, I've always lived east of 95. I think I've also always worked east of 95.
Right.
So getting into the world of Wellington, Welly Worlds is what we call it. Really eye-opening because I didn't know anything about the equestrian industry before I took this role, and it's incredible. So.
And are you an avid polo watcher, attender?
Go to the Winter Equestrian Festival on occasion. Drop into polo a few times a year. But I'm a golfer.
A golfer
I can't
at
fake
heart.
it with the horses. I'm a golfer.
Exactly. I like it. Well, real quick, you're listening to Your Palm Beach Guide with the Palm Beach Chamber of Commerce today, and our special guest is Jessica Shapiro. And I want to transition real quick since we've touched on Sotheby's. You are on our board at the Chamber, and I just want to say that you've helped us transition into this world that I think we never thought we would be in, a world that we never thought that we could even touch almost. It seems so bizarre. We talk about it daily. We
live in La La Land.
Honestly, we live in La La Land. And I just have to say, because of your leadership on the board and your relationship with Matt Swift, we've been able to create that relationship with Matt Swift because of you. And now we're being able to get these speakers. He's the chair of our trustee program. But that's your relationship.
I think it's really, it's networking.
Yeah.
And you always hear about this, especially when you're younger in your career, about the power of networking.
Right.
I mean, I must have met Matt's mom is one of my Sotheby's International Realty agents.
Oh my goodness.
And, just through lunch, probably a week before this even came up at the chamber.
Right.
Just hearing about what Matt did. I mean, it was top of mind.
Right.
And that's like the whole key to networking and keeping in touch with your clients.
Right.
But truthfully, this is the result of just connecting people that have the same interests, are on the same page about their vision.
Right.
So it's really exciting to see.
And it's crazy too, because sometimes people can take networking. I'm glad you mentioned that, because we talk about networking all the time at the chamber, at every event, at every member orientation. I mean, you name it. That's kind of what the chamber is here to do. We're the ultimate connector. But sometimes people just kind of are in left field and they don't understand that it is that relationship. It's cultivating relationships like you would at any other space in your life. You also have to do the same thing for business. And you have to really focus on that, because whether it's client relations or whether it's just checking in on people, like, I mean, if you hear that they're sick, or if you hear that their dog died, or if you anything like that, just paying attention, I think, is really important. And you have shown that with just the relationships that you've made here in this community. I mean, you're like a key stakeholder here.
I think it's always about being very present and, being authentic. It like throughout my career, I've just found if you're in the right place at the right time and you're present and listening to someone speak, you can connect the dots.
Right.
And it happens in so many ways. And I think, I can speak to younger attorneys because I was one.
Right.
You don't realize as a young professional that it is just about those personal connections.
Right.
And what I love about the chamber is a lot of us serve the same clientele. And, to be involved in the chamber, and take that step to want to meet other people. Like everybody's attracted to this because we're ambitious, we're driven, and entrepreneurs or big companies, we're there because we want to get that next lead or interest in the same projects, same clientele.
Yeah.
So
I think
it's a great
too,
connector.
I really liked what you said there when you mentioned just we have the same drive and the same ambition and goal, because I think that's what sets us apart sometimes, is that we are so focused on, okay, how do we make this better? How do we make the experience better? How do we, even to the smallest detail of, Doug always says this, of like changing the breakfast time to a little bit earlier to allow people to communicate more. Like, those are very small details that have changed the trajectory of how we put on an event. And I like that you said that we all have the same ambition, because we're pushing this. And all of you guys are volunteers. All of our board, volunteer-based work. And it's incredible. Just the whole team, you put your heart and soul into it, and you can see it now.
I feel like I only just am being able to tune in because it took me a year to get up to speed, maybe even 18 months to get up to speed on just Sotheby's and having the time to contribute to the chamber. But
I feel like you're leading your team at Sotheby's, and I also want to touch on real quick, when you mentioned you're speaking to young attorneys, like now that you're seasoned, you're in your career, you have your career, like you're not new anymore. It's like, what would you tell your young attorneys, or even just your younger self? Because like you've always had those moments of doubt where you're like, did I make the right decision going to this college? Did I make the right decision moving back or going to Miami? Like all of those things. And you're like, well, I guess I must have done something right since I'm here.
Yeah, I think it's taking ownership of whatever you're doing, being proactive. If you're going to take a task on, you do it.
Right.
We tell our clients, we are going to do X, Y, Z, and we will get it done.
Right.
And that's how I've always been in whatever job I was in. And I never thought that wasn't normal.
Yeah.
But now in management, I realize, you're lucky when you find that person that you give them the task and they get it done.
And they get it done and they do it well. I know. And they do it well, I think too. And we've of course, like, I mean, now that our team is growing, but it's like we've gotten lucky where it's like we find those golden tickets sometimes where it's like they hustle, they ask questions, they're assertive, like all of those things that you think should be normal day to day
Yeah,
expectations.
and like, like I mentioned imposter syndrome just in college, but even when you're in those meetings,
Right.
You're in a boardroom, the big conference room with like 10 other people, and you're like, oh, these other people, they must know what's right. They're talking a lot. And you're thinking, I think I have a stupid question.
Right.
It's not being afraid and just finding the confidence to let people know what you're thinking.
No, absolutely. No, I love that. Well, real quick, tell me how people can get in touch with you if they're looking to learn more about Sotheby's, if they're looking to learn more about the chamber, anything.
Oh, gosh. Yeah, you could find me. You Google me, Jessica Shapiro, Sotheby's International Realty, Jessica.Shapiro at Sotheby's.Realty.
Right.
Always glad. I answer my emails and I answer calls, and that's probably also the key to success.
Yes, exactly. and responding and being present, like you said. So, Jessica, thank you. Thank you for joining us today.
Oh, thank you. It was a pleasure.